Hi there! Welcome to Disc Golf Network's coverage of the 2022 Santa Cruz Masters Cup presented by Innova. We're going to be checking out some FPO lead card action here. My name is Ella Hansen.
And I am joining her today as Raven Klein.
You're just making that your name today?
Yeah, it's going to be my name just for today.
We're here in Santa Cruz, some beautiful views, great weather, and we're kicking off our feature card on hole 1. This is got a double mando here. This is a tough starting hole. You got to throw it uphill, but not too high because we got a low ceiling here toward the end of the hole, and some stairs to cross.
The stairs can be really tricky because what feels like a good shot can easily become one of your classic Delaveaga rollaways.
And bit of a tough green, not the toughest one on the course by any measure, but definitely have to land it soft, and got a couple trees to contend with on the right side.
We'll see our players throw here shortly, but first we're going to do a little history of Delaveaga.
Standing on the first tee every time I play Delaveaga is a sense of history. There's been so many people that have come through here. To play disc golf well at Delaveaga, you need to know this place. You need to kind of understand how to play disc golf there, where to land short, where to land long, where to land left, and where to land right. And sometimes if you're on the wrong side of that, you A, might not find your disc, or B, find yourself at the bottom of a canyon just to even get your disc back. And you might look at a hole on the scorecard and say, okay, you might think you need a fairway driver, maybe even a longer driver, but because of the way the course plays, you can land 40, 50 feet short and slide it up to 15 feet short and make a 15-foot putt. To sum up the disc golf at Delaveaga, what you see is not always what you get.
First on the tee from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Katrina Allen.
We got our defending champion, Katrina Allen, going to be first on the tee here. This is the kind of course where you, like we just saw, need a lot of pinpoint control, so I'll be looking to see Katrina how she controls her new discs.
That's pretty much exactly where you're going to be trying to aim, is in between, not pushing too far to that left side and getting stuck with a low ceiling.
And I think most players are going to be throwing a similar shot to that, something a little bit flippy on hyzer, letting it just push as far up that hill as you can get it.
Ooh, almost with a skip up onto the tier.
That's a fine place to be.
Valley, Jessica Weese.
As long as you're kind of in that area, it's all pretty much just a gentle approach from there. And Jess is someone who I know has played this course a lot. She is very familiar with Delaveaga.
Releasing that a little bit low, but like Ella said, anywhere in that middle is going to be fine for your approach shot.
From San Jose, Katie Atwood.
As is a Masters Cup tradition, Katie is the AM Women's Champion for the Amateur Masters Cup, so she is one of the members of our feature card here today. Getting a little bit close to that tree, but she gets up there.
Probably looking at a straight to slight hyzer because you want to land, but the greens here are incredibly packed down.
And this is a tough approach too because you have those two kind of logs sitting over, so you got to get above the logs, but not too high that you scoot too far.
Jessica landing just on edge of circle, maybe inside, more like a 20-footer.
Ohn throwing the forehand, also a little inside, but that's a great kick. She'll have a short putt for her par. Katrina stuck with a little bit of a tough stance, but she gets up there well inside the circle.
Seeing the patent pending on this course is going to be quite normal.
Yeah.
Great kick there for Katie.
And looks like we got a couple of shorter putts for our finishes on this hole. Katrina getting a nice par there.
Nice putt for Jessica, picking up her 3.
And this is a hole that was not birdied a single time by the FPO field today. It's a tough one. Tough starting hole, but I think most FPO players are playing it for a 3.
Our card finishing hole 1 with 3 pars and a bogey.
Now, hole 2 is maybe one of the most roll-away prone holes on the course. It's a severe uphill here and then a nice dog leg to the left. So you really want to throw something overstable or just a hyzer up into this gap, but not pushing too far long, so you can get caught up in that thick brush up there. And then hoping you can land it softly on this rocky, hay-y hill and get as close to the basket as you can. And like most of the holes at Dela, we got a pretty steep drop off right behind the basket here, making it a little scary for any putts you might have probably outside of 20 feet or even inside of 20 feet. That looks great.
That's exactly what you want to go for. Really making sure, if you can get to this spot where Katrina is, you are in probably your best position.
Mm-hmm. And it's really important on this hole, too. It's a big advantage to get to the top of the hill because you will have a lot more flat footing. That's a great skip for Ohn.
Very helpful. The error sometimes trying to avoid that left tree is pushing too far, and that makes your approach either an Annie putter or a forehand into a very fast green.
Mm-hmm. Jessica pushing it wide, but another
great
great
shot
result.
by Jess. Yeah.
Little wide there for Katie. And that's where you're kind of pushing long there, and that's going to be a tough approach for her. Looks like a nice angle, just a little too high there, catches a tree. That'll put her about 45 feet.
Nice approach shot there by Ohn. Still going to leave her just inside the circle with quite a look at the death putt.
Ohn loves death putts, though.
She does love death putts.
Jessica, nice little gentle jump putt approach there. It's really helpful to have a good tee shot on this hole. Obviously, it's good to have good tee shots, but this one, it feels really nice to just be able to pitch up your approach instead of having to throw, a tough, complicated approach shot into this green.
Katie making the smart play and laying up. You'll see a lot of these short layups today, and they will slide forward anywhere from 10 to 30 feet. Oh, that's a great bid. She has no fear for putting.
She really does not. Jessica just outside the bullseye. Makes good on her par.
Katrina with a similar distance.
Mm-hmm. And you can see those branches on the left. They're really close to the basket. So if you do run it and go long, you'll kind of go down the hill, and then you'll have to contend with those branches, too, on your comebacker putt. So that's why we see so many players just laying it up short. Pretty solid showing there on that second hole. It's a tough one. All right. Getting here to hole 3. This is a pretty severe downhill. Getting maybe a tiny bit of headwind here, but you're kind of just trying to hit this gap here. If you're throwing the straight shot, most players will be throwing probably a fairway driver or a mid-range. Some folks will like to throw a forehand down the left side, but most people are throwing this straight gap, And these trees are about at the edge of the circle, so you kind of just trying to push it straight at these trees. Hope you scoot up as close to the basket as you can, and if not, you'll hopefully have a look for birdie.
It's definitely one of the large tree, like guarded greens, but there are a lot of gaps. So even if you think you're blocked off, you might have a look. Mm-hmm. Cat probably looking for a little more of a turnover there, but that left side is still fairly open.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely...
Left is the miss.
Yeah. Jessica looks like she's lining up that forehand route.
I predict she is probably one of the only women who actually goes for the high forehand route on this hole.
Yeah. Woo!
And that is... Whoa! And that is why.
Wow.
That was crazy.
That was like a foot and a half away
we get
from
to
an
see it
ace.
again.
I want to see how this skipped. Spike Heiser in
Whoa.
it. Sort of gets this anti-flutter skip. Wow, that was like 6 inches from acing.
I don't think I've seen an anti-skip like that.
Yeah.
But, oh,
It's
here we
pretty
go.
sick. Ohn throwing that high forehand too. Maybe doesn't quite get over on it enough. And Heiser's out a little to the right there. That, as you can see, there's a lot of trees in the way, but there's usually a gap there. Katie trying the straight gap, just a little too turned over.
That's where it gets tricky because any more and she could have been right down the side of that cliff.
Mm-hmm. She has to throw another patent pending.
That's a great tree kick.
That's a great tree. Puts it right to the basket.
The course giveth.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the mysteries of Dela. It's, sometimes that can happen. Sometimes a great shot can get kicked into who knows where. Katrina giving it a bit of a soft run.
That can be a really hard spot there from the knee. Just there's so many branches in the way, but you're still trying to push it 40, 45 feet.
Mm-hmm. Ohn making good on her par there.
2 feet. Not even.
It wasn't even 2 feet, Jess. I'm telling you, it was really
It was so
close.
much closer than that.
That was awesome.
Still getting the birdie.
Only had 2 birdies on the day on this hole. That's a great birdie for Jess. Would have been a sick ace, but, still pretty good.
The other birdie was by Ella, if you were curious.
Yeah, I did do pretty good on that hole.
Did you almost ace it?
Not this time,
Okay,
no.
okay.
But
Tomorrow.
Looking at through 3 holes, myself and Jess, -1. Whole bunch of other good names there at even. That hole 3 really is the only birdieable hole for the FPO kind of those first 3 holes, so yeah. All right, we got hole 4 here. We are looking at a 390-foot hole. The elevation goes up and down. I would say it's maybe a tiny bit downhill, but most players are looking to kind of throw straight and either bail out left or try to push it as far up this gap as they can. I think we'll see most players throwing a backhand here. This, of course, is the hole that Greg Barsby somehow aced with a forehand roller, which I still don't understand. Just getting a little bit of turnover there.
Honestly, I think that's one of the best options and the better lines. Yes, playing out left is a lot safer, but if you can throw some kind of flippy, maybe Heiser fairway over the top of these first trees, even if you plinko down, you could be in a great spot. Mm-hmm. Or you can just do that.
That's a great drive there from Kat. And yeah, that's absolutely true. There's just more danger on the right. So
Definitely.
if you want to be extra safe, you can Heiser out left. But yeah, this is the way to really try to attack the hole. Ohn kind of going for the more safe play, Heisering out. And once you kind of get past this row of trees on the left, it opens up a little bit for more of a forehand approach.
You can see the 2 large dead trees at the edge of the fairway, and you really, if anything, throwing at that second one gives you a decent line when it fades out. Mm-hmm. But even if you're in a good spot, you've got a really low ceiling for the rest of the fairway.
Yeah. As we see Katie going to a knee here just to get a better angle on those low trees in her way.
Catches a branch, but still gets some great progression.
That's a great shot. Fighting through the trees. Settling down. This is kind of a sneaky tough green. It's a little flatter than some of the other ones, but it can make you roll for sure.
Oh, wow.
Ohn with that big skip, but she manages to catch a tree as well and puts her well inside the circle. Jess going to a knee, also
Her classic.
giving it a
oh,
run.
Man.
Woo-hoo.
Every time I see Jess line up a forehand approach shot anywhere within 200 feet, I'm like, maybe
Yeah.
this could be going in.
I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna hazard a guess that was a Sonic for Jess. She likes to put that in the basket.
3 out of 4 women on a knee for the approach shot, if that tells you anything about this fairway.
And Jess is left with this really tough comebacker. That's kind of one of the things that you have to manage as a player at Dela. When you do give it a run like that, you're gonna have to be able to either take your bogey or make a miraculous putt for par sometimes.
Having the mindset of commit or lay up can save you a lot of strokes out here. And just that mental aspect of, stuff might happen. So if I did what I was trying to and it didn't work out, you have to deal with it.
Jess takes her bogey.
Cat tapping in the easy par right there.
Champion, Katrina Allen! World champion, James
All right, here we go. We got hole 5. This is 393 feet. It's going to be flat for most of the first part of this hole. Just kind of trying to hit this gap, and you can start to see the basket coming into frame here. It's going to drop down there, and the fairway is going to narrow. So you really want to be precise on this hole. If you get left or right too far, it's going to be really tough to get up and down. And in classic Delaveaga fashion, we've got a pretty fast green here and, shockingly, a drop-off behind it.
Shockingly. You'll see a decent amount of women, even at 393, throwing possibly a mid-range off the tee just to make sure they're staying in the center of the fairway, and preferably to the right of the 2 main trees in the center.
Mm-hmm. Cat giving it a good rip.
Looking nice. Oh.
Just catching that tree, but as you can see, she still gets a lot of ground play, and she's right in the middle of the fairway with an open look to the basket. With that downslope and the ground the way it is, you definitely can get a lot of ground play towards the basket if you hit right in the middle of the fairway.
Where's that tree?
Ohn hitting the same tree.
The fairways can be quite deceptive, too.
Mm-hmm. Ohn played that one a lot wider than we might see most players throwing.
Katie getting on top of it a little bit more than she probably wanted to. Slight Annie. And getting herself in the brush on the right side. That's going to be a tough upshot for par.
That's a good miss, though, to keep it low. Because if you throw it too high and catch a tree, you never know where you could be going.
Jess also releasing it low, but ending up in the middle of the fairway. That is a very common miss.
And this kind of green is one that having knowledge of the course really helps. As you can see Jess there, just giving it just enough power to get inside the circle and slide up toward the basket. That's a great shot.
Katie ended up actually kicking out on that side, so that was better than I expected.
Catching a little branch there. Ohn looking like she's in a pretty similar spot. Trying to play that ground skip, gets a little more edge up than she probably wanted to, but she's inside the circle. That's definitely Ohn range.
Definitely. You often see people approaching with some of more like base plastic or these stickier plastics to try and help them from getting too much of a skip away. And it still doesn't always work.
That's a good shot there. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of grass here at Delaveaga, which is pretty different than a lot of courses. Ohn with a really awkward stance. Just catching the bottom of the cage. Smashing the comebacker. That'll be another bogey for Ohn.
Jessica getting her par there. It was a great upshot just inside or just outside the bullseye.
And Katie looking to tap in her bogey. So we've got Katrina tapping in her par, so that'll keep her and Jess at even. Katrina, no bogeys yet. That's always an impressive feat at Dela.
Just looks great on the card, too.
All right, we got hole 6 here. Kind of a similar shot to the previous hole. Again, just trying to hit this gap. A little more of a downhill initially, and then we kind of have the fairway rises up a little bit here. And this is kind of a place where you want to slide it up to the basket. So you kind of want to hit the fairway here and let your disc kind of scoot up towards the basket, because if you try to get there in the air, it's a little more easy to go into that road long out of bounds.
There's a slight 1 to 2 foot gap on the outside of the log that is still inbounds, but can be very tricky. Saw someone skip right over the log, but stay in bounds. That looks like it's like, unfortunate route there for Katrina, but that was a great line.
Yeah, another inch higher, and she might have just scooted right up toward the basket.
Like many holes here, you want to keep it lower to avoid any extra catastrophe.
And Jess looks like she gets caught up in that tree.
Oh, and it was rolling a little bit.
That's great for her, honestly. Being behind that tree is pretty pinched off. It's hard to access the basket from there. Oh, giving it
A little bit like the last hole, kind of really using all of the fairway and then a little too much.
Yeah. She gets another good kick out into the fairway.
Katie going with that higher hyzer. Hopefully this settles down and doesn't go near the road.
Oh, yep. Looks like it got caught there by the tree. And a little bit of a roll back. Oh, looks like
she rolled all the way
Jess
into
rolled
the
down.
side. Able to get out.
That'll give her a look just outside of circle 1. Oh,
Unfortunate there for Katie.
Katrina looking like she's got a long bid for birdie.
Definitely playing it safe, though, with how close the basket is to the road. If you give that a run, you could very well hit and go out.
And giving it a little jump putt. You got Katie for par here. Just laying it up. That's a good layup.
Missing wide right there for Jess. That's a little less characteristic for her.
And this road, they try to limit the cars, but there are people who live up the road, and they don't really often care that much about there being a disc golf tournament happening. So
Very true.
that's another thing, among many mental things you have to contend with at Dela. Got to contend with those cars on the road as well.
Ohn getting her par, Katrina grabbing her par, and Katie tapping in here for her bogey.
Not too bad on that hole. That can be a pretty punishing one. And we're checking out the leaderboard.
After 6 holes, we had almost the full board of even, and 3 holes later, Dela is doing its work. So we still have some great names here. Katrina and Christine King still at even.
And Oregon native Madison Tomeno, -1. All right, hole 7. Going over this gully. This is one of the shortest holes on the course. Kind of a nice respite after a couple of real tough holes. This is just a little backhand turnover, or maybe a forehand as well. Just trying to kind of land it short, let it scoot up there. We've got basically almost inside the bullseye a large cliff. So you really don't want to be right on this hole.
That can be the danger with throwing the forehand approach.
Yeah, I think most players prefer this backhand because you can kind of control that landing.
Beautiful
angle.
shot by Katrina.
Yeah.
Like that.
Exactly like that. That was beautiful. And we see Ohn even going with the backhand here. Pretty forehand strong player there, just pushing it a little too straight, catching a tree. She'll have a long look. We'll see if even Ohn will go for that.
The miss is definitely pushing it straight and long. It will leave you with more of a death putt, but at least you're not down the cliff.
That's a good shot there from Jess, getting her inside the circle, but even that is a death putt.
There's a slight wall of larger trees right behind the basket, but it has its gaps. So if you want to play your cards there, go for it.
Katie putting a nice angle on that, but just a little bit too low. She'll have a long look for her par, or for her birdie, excuse me. Ohn giving it a run.
Going for it. Didn't quite see if that kicked at the end there, but I think she should be fine.
And that's not too bad of an angle. Most players are going to hyzer out their putt for righty backhand. Obviously, backhand putters. For right-handed putters, so you can kind of give it a run there without being too worried of going downhill.
It's one of the safest bids you'll have here at Dela. Ooh.
Just getting really lucky there. That's the situation where you can catch a nub and roll way down that hill. So she's lucky to stay inside
Ohn
the
making
bullseye
good
there.
on her par. Yeah, that was incredibly lucky to just lay flat on Jessica's.
Katrina just outside the bullseye for her birdie. Stepping around a tree.
Ooh.
Making it in the basket. That's a great birdie for Kat.
That
Getting
is.
her under par.
Katie grabbing her par. Always feels nice to get a clean score.
This is one that feels really good if you get it, and if you don't get it, it can be pretty frustrating, especially after a bunch of tough holes.
Feel that.
All right, moving on to one of our longer holes, hole 8 here, 369 feet. This is a very tight tunnel. You got a little bit of opening here and a lot of trees toward the second half of this fairway, especially on the left. There is a road on the right that it's pretty easy to kick to.
Yeah, it's only about, 60 feet off the fairway? Not even?
Yeah, so most players are just trying to throw it as straight as they can, as far as they can, down this gap.
If you have a nice fairway disc that you can hyzer flip and just stay in the middle.
Katrina with a nice
Hugging that
pull.
left side, but looks nice. Oh, and a great kick out.
That's
Slide
great.
out? It wasn't really a kick. It was very soft. A nudge, maybe.
Little tree nudge. Ohn throwing the forehand. Yeah, this is
She going
another.
around the trees.
This is another play. I think more common on the MPO side, but throwing that Annie forehand, trying to fight back into the trees.
And well executed.
Jessica going with the backhand, pushing that right side.
And a
Just-
favorable end.
Just a gentle little kick keeps her in the middle of the fairway.
even if you release a great shot down the middle, you're very likely to come close to that one tree that's coming out in the middle. Mm-hmm. Looks like an elbow.
Katie pushing that first tree a little bit. She'll end up on the left side. That's going to be a wall of trees that she's going to have to contend with on this approach shot.
Taking that higher hyzer gap approach. Seems like it was okay after that kick.
Jessica with just a nice straight approach here.
Ooh,
Beautiful
Great
shot there. Great touch on that approach. Cat scooting it up just outside the bullseye.
Ohn giving it a long bid. Oh, man. And she did give it a bid. I mean, can't make it if you don't throw it far enough.
This was the 4th hardest hole on the day. Nobody birdied in the FPO field.
Oh, giving it a good bid, but just a little high there for Katie. Ohn grabbing her 3. It's a great 3.
It is.
There are a couple holes out here where the par really does feel like a birdie.
Yep.
Jessica also grabbing her 3. Katie with a double, unfortunately.
This is one of those holes where if you get off the fairway, it can be really hard to scramble.
Kat taking her time there, grabbing her 3. Overall, the card played well.
Yes, it did. All right, we got hole 9 here, fondly known as I-5. If you don't get a 5 on this hole, I will be impressed. Got a pretty open, really the most open tee shot on the whole course here, and you're just trying to. Most players are trying to push it into this gap as far as they can. Down on the left here, as you can see, it's sloping down. There is a pretty gnarly canyon down there, and a bunch of these kind of sideways-ish, scraggly trees that just seem to jump into your way as much as they can. This is a 550-foot hole, but it is a par 3 this year. So we're gonna see how we can attack this hole here. Katrina throwing a nice hyzer flip, using the width of the fairway right, but looks like she just scooted down into the edge of that rough there.
There is a line if you go all the way left on that side and don't go in the canyon, but it is a tight spot. Mm-hmm. Ohn pushing much further straight, which is going to leave her with probably 2 options for her approach shot.
Yeah, we might see a couple people going over the top on their second shot.
If you push it too far, you lose that option, and so it's actually quite a touchy distance if you want to go over.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, of all the years to throw over the top, this is a good one, because I'm guessing this is the first Masters Cup without the 2-meter rule. So you won't even get punished if you get stuck in a tree throwing over the top there.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of lines that opened up for players this year because that lack of 2-meter things they never even thought about going for.
And Katie pushing it up that fairway. She kind of has this midline. She's looking.
There's basically 3 openings through these trees.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Just catching the middle of that tree.
Looks like she slipped a little bit there on her run up.
Yeah, the parts, I mean, honestly, the whole course can be pretty slippery, but these parts with the dead kind of grass.
Come on. Oh,
I
love the
that.
idea.
Yeah. That's not too bad of a spot there.
The fact that she hit that tree and still ended up in front of that tree is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Katie looking to scramble.
Oh no.
That's a tough one. And these are some really hard shots. Trying to patent pending out, throwing a hyzer, trying not to hit a tree right in front of you. She gets a little more progress that time, but she'll still have a long look.
And then there's always another tree right in front of you.
You can sort of see the basket up in the top right corner here. Katrina has this forehand look.
Oh, there we go.
Looks like she scooted out into circle 2. That's a great shot from where she was.
Really was. Yeah, she might still have one tree in her way to contend with on the putt, but forward progression. Ohn, that's a great line. Taking that inside gap on the forehand. Didn't quite get the skip I think she was hoping for.
Yeah, kind of just skipped straight up instead of to the right, but she'll have probably an edge of circle look for her par.
Just using that gravel, but still falling shorter than she planned.
Katie just getting this lean out, pitch up there. Katrina for the par. Count
Oh,
it.
man. She was the only par for the day.
That is a great 3. I'm calling that a birdie all day.
Honestly, she eagled it. I don't know.
Yeah, you can call it an eagle. It's I-5. That is a great shot. Great putt, and honestly, a great scramble from where she was throwing
Yeah,
that forehand.
really was beautiful. Ooh, that's got to feel so good.
Mm-hmm. And that's a scary putt too. There's punishment behind the basket here too. So.
Oh no!
Oh, she thought it was in.
I thought it was in.
Oh, let's see this.
Through the trees.
Just.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was mean. That's a bad spit. I thought it was a little left side, but she went right down the middle.
Wow.
That's tough. Oh, just a little short for Jess. Ohn taps in a double bogey 5.
And a double bogey 5 for Jess as well.
Katie with a triple bogey. Great play in there from Katrina on that hole.
We are halfway through the course. We have 2 players under par, are Ella Hansen and Katrina Allen. As you can see, people are starting to take a couple more, but everyone's still holding off great. It's nice to see Hannah's name up there and Sarah holding strong.
Yeah, getting some new names up here on the leaderboard.
Yeah, and you said Madison is a local, correct?
She's local to Oregon. She's
Oregon.
An Oregon.
She's an Oregon. Oh, okay, to you.
Yeah.
That will conclude the front 9 here of the 2022 Masters Cup. One of the main highlights has got to be Katrina Allen with the bogey-free front 9 so far.
That is just impressive stuff. It's very impressive stuff, especially on this course. She's been controlling her game well, controlling the ground well, controlling her shots well.
It's one thing to watch some of these holes in this coverage, but you don't always get the depth of some of these greens and these fairways. So watching these women carve some of these lines is just so impressive.
Yeah, and we will catch you on the back 9. Thank you for watching. My name is Ella Hansen.
And I'm Raven Klein.
See you later.